DreamWorks The Croods.
Thank you so much for being with Hispana Global. For you, it's really personal because it's like a baby, but it took 8 years for it to be born. How different was it from the beginning to what we see in theaters?
The original part I started writing with John Cleese in 2004, and it still had the same themes. It was a fear of change. And over the course of the evolution of the story, it transpired from being a whole village into what is now one family. And it really came down to change is something that we all fear. It's very relatable, but the change that people fear the most is the changes going on within their family. And at the top of that list is a father fearing the change when his daughter's going to fall in love.
Now, there are other messages also in the movie, like follow the light. Where did that come from?
You know, that was one of my favorite things that grew naturally out of this film about these cavemen that are like running from this cataclysm. Eep, at the very beginning of the film, she hates the dark. She hates being in this cave. And there's a scene where she climbs up on the face of a cliff. And she puts her hand up into the air just to touch the last little bit of sunlight as the sun sets. And that became one of the most important messages of the film. It's something that Grug is going to have to accept, that you've got to stay outdoors. You've got to stay out in the world, if you will, and accept a certain level of risk if you're going to really live. And that whole message of follow the light, one of the things I love about that is that you can assign a lot of different definitions to that, and they're really all correct. It's just about, like, it can be seeking knowledge, it can be about finding a new horizon, a new relationship. They're all right.
How different is it to work on original story compared to an adaptation?
Well, I think, you know, the thing about the original, this is, you know, special because it's not just an original story, but this is an original world. And that all the artists at DreamWorks, we all had to come together because everything's fantasy. There's no buildings, there's no cars, there's nothing we could have used and just said, okay, we're gonna have some cars in here, we know how to model cars. Everything had to be created. So I think that makes it really rewarding, but I think it's tough at the beginning to get the tone right and to find the look of the film.
And how hard is it to adapt a story when somebody new comes in? Because you came in when the story was already started.
I came in to cause tons of trouble. I created change and upheaval.
Fear of change.
No, you know, I joined the film that had been going on for some time, but I have to say I credit Kirk with really solving the biggest problem of all for this film, because when it began, it was really about a village. And Grug was one character in this larger caveman village. And the story needed these characters to actually start moving somewhere else. And so I went away to actually work on How to Train Your Dragon. They were asking me to come over and they were changing directions on that film. And while I was away on How to Train Your Dragon, Kirk gave me a call one day, and I came down to his office and he said, one caveman family loses their cave and they go on the world's first family road trip to find another one. And I thought, you've done it, that's it. That's the story we should tell.
I heard that you actually voiced the sloth with the melody of doom.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good description of it. Yeah.
Where did that come from?
You know, we were trying to find ways of putting a name or a label on this cataclysm that follows the Croods throughout the film. And it was one of the things we did after one of our test screenings where we tried to like name it. And we decided that every time this disaster almost catches the Croods, this little sloth, he sort of puts the exclamation mark on it, and he comments on it by doing that little dun dun dun, like it's the end, it's right there.
Thank you so much, and we won't unleash the baby on you.
Thank you.
We'll eat when we get there.
It's taking too long! I'm grabbing a snack.
Don't do that. That's not food. He's a pet. My pet.
What's a pet?
An animal you don't eat.
We call those children.